mentioned, I have Khepra's Raw Food Juice Bar, and we operate inside of this space here, which is known as Dynamic Wellness. You look around and you see they have books and supplements and things. And then also, I'm going to introduce and have him say a few words about his class. Aaron.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to Dynamic Wellness, everybody. And speaking to the mic, can you hear me now? Is that better? Okay. Well, good afternoon. I'm the other author here that's on site. The title of my book is The Obesity Myth. You're not overweight, you're overweight. I'm a holistic health consultant, and bringing the same kind of energy that Khepra brings to dynamic wellness to keep everybody dynamically well. Can you hear me now? The obesity myth, you're not overweight, you're overwaist. Can you all hear in the back now? Okay, good. I do a class on Mondays at this time from 6:30 to 8. It's entitled Breath Mastery and Internal Fitness. Like Khepra, my focus is getting the organs clean and healthy so everyone can live disease-free, reach homeostasis, and so on. Once again, Aaron Motley, welcome to Dynamic Wellness. I'm also handling everything out here on Sundays. And come on down. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to get right into today's lecture. I'm really excited about today. I did something like this similar last year. Any of you were here last year for the lecture? Okay, great. Well, this will be good because actually I'm going to summarize my lecture last year because it deals with what I'm going to talk about today, which is the raw food lifestyle for you? I came up with the topic, is the raw food lifestyle for you, because just to tell you a little bit about my journey in the raw food movement, I started eating raw food primarily as my diet in the year 2000. So it's been about 13 years. And and since that time, I've seen the raw food movement sort of really grow. I've also come to open up this business, but also in terms of how you relate to your everyday peers, your family. These are the things that are often present roadblocks in the way of looking to transform your health, because at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want to live better. We want to be more vibrant. We want to look better. We want to feel better. And then we also some people get into this because of sickness, disease. They want to live. The C word. Cancer. When that strikes, we can go into panic, and that will to live, that desire to live, a lot of times that cancer, once that takes life, or once that takes a hold of your life, because that's what it looks to do. It looks to thrive on you until you die. So the thing is that at that point, what do we do? What's oftentimes, for some people, it could be too late. Just from our lifestyle habits and what we've done and what we haven't done for decades. Oftentimes it's just unrealistic to turn it around either in a few weeks or few months, etc. But the body is an amazing vehicle. And we really need to start treating it as such. And by treating it as such, we can really, what we give to ourselves is what we will receive. So we have to, you know, we, we have to do the things now before it gets too late, because we're aging. But like I said, the body is a natural regenerator, and if we treat it right, we get proper rest, we fast periodically, we can allow the body can regenerate itself. There's no herb, there's no supplement, there's no treatment out there that's more powerful than the body's ability to self heal. Now there's a catch. The catch is that we have to get out of its way, and the best way to get out of its way is to periodically go on a fast. You can do juice fasting. I like coconut water fasting, water fasting. Um, yeah, I'll go through that, and I'm gonna get more in detail about that. But again, if bringing it back to, is the raw food lifestyle for you? Um, of course, like I said, when I got into this initially, at that time, I think a lot of people were driven to raw foods not because they were sick. It was almost like this idea was going around that you could be superhuman, that you could actually live and really thrive. That's what I believe the whole coinage of the term superfoods came about. This all came about in this most recent time, where we have the explosion of today's raw food movement. So we had the advent of superfoods. We had raw food gurus, going around the country and promoting raw food lifestyle. And this was all great. This was something that I was, really took hold to personally. The desire to live the best life possible, that was my motivation. And I think that for all of you out here who are thinking about it, I mean, again, that's something that helped me and that worked for me. Now, again, when you ask the question, is the raw food lifestyle for you? You have to find what works for you. Now, I'm going to go through the 5 keys to becoming raw, because that's what I talked about last year. Last year, again, um, for the new year, people are looking to make lifestyle changes. People are looking to, the New Year's resolutions. They want to make, this year and every year the best year possible. So I gave a lecture and I was talking about 5 keys to becoming raw. So we're going to go through those, and in addition to going through those, I'm going to talk about, like, basically, just throw out some ideas and some thoughts in terms of, how that may fit or how that may work for you or how it may not work for you, because one of the keys is going to determine, I mean, basically, when you look at them collectively, they're all going to form basically a it's going to give you your either your foundation to move forward in this direction or not. So the first key is, are you green? I said, are you green? And basically what it deals with is sugar. And when we understand that sugar is everything we eat has to break down into a simple sugar. Regardless if it's a fruit, a vegetable, a nut, a seed, meat, dairy, these things all have to break down into simple sugars in order for us to get benefit. Now, we become addicted to processed sugars. And when I say processed sugars, I mean like the starchy foods, the processed flours, breads, the cereals, these things are like what I call empty food. You know, they're very much filler. But they're very low on the nutritional scale. Very empty in terms of, yeah, high in terms of calories and, providing that filler, but in essence they're not nourishing us on a cellular level. The thing is that when we think about our body, we know that we are predominantly water, and we look at this piece of bread, and the body, that's just there's no water. The body has to basically break this down. It has to hydrate it in order to get any value out of it. So these foods are really sucking away at our life energy, at our life's blood, and that being water. So anytime you're eating pasta and breads and things that don't have any moisture, the body is looking to extract water out of all of our food. So if there's no water component to any of the food that you're eating, then that's a recipe for disaster, in the short term and in the long term. So when I say, are you green, the thing is that we really got to make greens the focus of where we get our sugar. And the reason that is because when you're looking at acidic foods, you're looking at starchy foods, those are highly acidic foods, very much acidic. Green is alkaline. And the thing is that with our green foods, not only we have water, but we also have minerals. And the thing is that the minerals is what we're missing. The minerals is what give it the bitter taste. When we're eating kale, collards, spinach, dandelion, and these are things that we want to. You want to start to begin to change your taste buds. So again, when I'm asking, is a raw food diet for you? This is a situation where, at least physically, we, in terms of our taste buds, in terms of where we're at physically, that's probably the greatest challenge you're facing. So is it realistic for you to give up those things, to give up the breads and the cereals and the rice and all the processed foods? So that's a real question. And again, part of making that transition is replacing those things with primarily green foods. What's pop? A lot of people tell me they do green smoothie in the morning. That's a great way to start the day. Versus if you're used to doing like heavy cereal, pancakes. The breakfast foods, the traditional breakfast foods, are the worst foods. Because again, those are all very much starchy foods that really get the blood sugar going. But what happens is that lunchtime, you eat your traditional breakfast, your oatmeal or your cereal, and you say, oh, this is healthy, this is vegetarian, blah, blah, blah. And then you go, and by the time you have lunch, your breakfast is still right on your stomach. So then you follow and you put lunch right on top of breakfast, and now if you're working at a desk, you're not moving around, you're not burning that food, then you got two meals sitting right on top of each other. The body goes into basically rest mode because it has no energy for nothing else. Like all of its energy is being zapped to trying to digest these two meals you put right on top of each other. And so therefore, what most people do, they can't afford to take a nap or go for a run or something that's going to deal with this issue that most people put themselves through each and every day. Go for the coffee and you go for the stimulants, and then now you're pouring a problem on top of another problem. So I talk about like basically breakfast. It really should be no breakfast. or breakfast should be, water, fluids, things high moisture. Again, we're coming off of a fast. We're sleeping. We're coming off the breath. So you want to transition into food by bringing in high fluids, lots of water, lots of fresh juice, and fruits, if anything physical. And then by 12 o'clock, now you have energy. Because the thing is that the rest of rejuvenation that you've received from the 8 hours or however many hours you slept, you're able to continue that. You're not taking away, or you're not cheating yourself by bringing in this food that you now are forcing your body to deal with. Okay, so by eating your biggest meal and probably your only meal in the middle part of the day, you got the assistance of the sun. The middle part of the day is where we really should reserve our greatest physical tasks. And there's nothing more greater physically than the breaking down of food. And we really want to sort of delay the heavy breaking down of proteins and fats for the middle part of the day. So, it could be anywhere from as early as 12 to maybe as late as 4, 5, 6 o'clock. After 6 o'clock, you really don't want to have anything heavy. You really want it to sort of mimic how you start the day, by finishing the day with something light. So therefore, you don't have anything. You really giving your body a chance, 24 hours, to break down heavy foods. So, are you green? And that's really the first key of at least making the transformation to doing raw foods, is making this part of your lifestyle. The second key is, well, I talked a little bit about, is the importance of detox, detoxification, regular detoxification. This is my new book. I came out this summer. Basically, this book started as about 7 years ago when I started doing fasting, basically with groups. I was doing this on my own. People were asking me for guidance and advice, and I came up with the idea to do group fasts. There are times during the year which is more advantageous to fast than others, like with the change of seasons. People naturally go into detoxification mode. I mean, this is the whole, we got this whole flu season. Basically, everyone is detoxing. The body, again, like I said, the body is designed to heal and cleanse. When we catch the flu or catch a cold, it's not, we haven't caught anything. Basically, the body is trying to stop you from doing what you've been doing, which is overeating and overeating too much bad stuff. So it's like you shut the appetite down, you create congestion and things of that nature to sort of, and then what you should be doing is really going with it, drinking lots of water, allowing the body to flush via the kidneys, rest, getting rest. If you're working all the time, you really owe it to yourself to get rest. Rest the mind. We go home, and I mean, myself, I know I get on a computer and I'm constantly stimulated. I'm constantly even when I'm not here, I'm working. And so it's just so important to get that rest, and that's what detox is all about. Detox is really, when you do a voluntary detox, you're being proactive in a sense that, before the healing crisis comes, you're going to basically say, okay, I'm gonna fast for a couple days. I'm gonna give the digestive system a rest. Again, if you're eating every day, your digestive system is working nonstop, 24/7, 365. It takes it could take for a meal to go from one end to the other. It could take at least 24 hours, probably longer, 36 to 48 hours, or even longer, depending on what it is. Okay, and if you're eating food that is not water based, there's going to be basically debris. There's going to be the body is there's going to be things left behind. The body's not going to fully um, uh, be able to eliminate whatever you're bringing in. So again, you got this buildup. You're going to have buildup. That's the word I was looking for. And with the increased buildup, then that's when you create. That's what forms the seeds of disease, especially cancer. Because again, you may be weak in some area, and that area, the body may use that as a dumping ground, and then that's the seed for a tumor. And then, and again, this is like, not overnight. This is 10, 20, 30 years of the body, trying to manage waste. And ultimately what ends up happening is that, it starts to become something living. And then that's when we call it cancer. It'll start to grow hair and form teeth, and then by then, you go to your doctor, you try to get it cut out, and a lot of times that may be the best thing to do is the surgery. But the thing is that we don't want to get to that point. We don't want to get to that place. When we get to that place, a lot of degeneration. We've degenerated greatly when we allow ourselves to get to that point. So by periodic fasting, again, the body, it's like you turn that energy that has been using nonstop, 24/7, 365 for digestion, can now be used for healing. Okay, we really owe it to ourselves to take periodic breaks from food. No matter how good your diet is, no one is immune. No one is above fasting. Anybody tell you, oh well, I don't need, that's addiction. That's so the thing is that again, is raw food, again, the question is a raw food diet for you. You have to really seriously consider fasting. Fasting is paramount importance. And again, I can't overstate that the fact that, again, there's no herb, there's no magic pill process. There's a lot of alternative therapies out there, and I'm not debunking those. But again, the body's own intelligence, the body's own magnificence to heal and to regenerate itself is second to none. Okay. So that's the second key. The third key is your education. You essentially have to become almost like a raw food scholar. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of resources out there, especially even with the advent of, YouTube and the internet. There's just a ton of information out there. And, basically I would encourage you to read. I mean, again, reading is like eating, because, we're reading, we're feeding ourselves, we're feeding our minds. And, when I began really starting to do this, and, after, really a good informative book, I mean, it would really supercharge me to the point where it's like, it would give me so much inspiration. And you need that inspiration, especially in today's world. There's so much competition. There's so many forces out there vying for your attention. You have to, really take the initiative and, really understand that, okay, what you feed your mind is ultimately, how your spirit, how your body, how everything, especially how you eat, is going to follow. So education is critical. Um, the fourth key is becoming a raw food chef. You want to basically uh, again, I'm well, part of what I do for a living, is make raw food. So obviously, I provide that as a service. I do have a few customers that eat here almost every day, but for most of us, I mean, even if you treat yourself, you're gonna have to get some raw food chef acumen. You're gonna have to learn how to make a salad. Um, is I'm sure this doesn't sound too complex, but the thing is that I think it's also good to, because again, when I started this, it was fruits and salads, and that gets old. So becoming a raw gourmet chef, that helps, because learning how to dehydrate, to sprout, these are some of the quote unquote advanced techniques of a raw food chef, and it helps, and especially if you have children and you're trying to get them to do more raw. Doing dehydrated treats, cookies, things like that really goes a long way. Yes, it's a lot of work. You could just pick up go to Whole Foods and pick up what they have or whatever, but it makes a difference. It really does. To you do it yourself. Yes, it's a lot of work, a lot of preparation, a lot of cleaning, a lot of organizing. Um, why are you shaking your head? Yeah, so it's a lot of work. She can testify to that. Becoming a raw food chef is the other key. And again, when you ask the question, is raw food diet for you? That may not be realistic. Again, your time. But again, if this is something that you want to make an investment in terms of your life, this is your life. No one is going to, care for you at more than you. Becoming, learning how to do some things. Um, I haven't done classes since last year. But YouTube. There's like a ton of raw food chefs. You can find just about any recipe for anything on YouTube. So there's no excuse. When I started, YouTube was not yet created. Um, but there were books, and I was, basically going out. New York City has, if you make it to New York or different cities, they have a number of raw food restaurants. And these were things, that I used to do every now and again, and it used to give me inspiration. It used to be like, wow, these, they're really doing some fantastic things. These things taste really good. I don't miss the other food. It's really important, okay? And the last thing, and this is probably when I ask the question, is a raw food diet for you? The last key is probably the most important, because, again, we're social beings. So the last key, and I call it like, who's in your camp? Who's in your circle? It's probably the make or break. You say, okay, I could do this raw food. I've learned how to. I got a few recipes under my belt. I don't crave to cook food. I've been fasting every now and again. But that last key, your relationships, your family, these are really that's probably the most important question, or the most important key that we can look at in terms of, like, is it realistic for you, really? Like, we just went through the holidays. Would it have been realistic for you to eat all raw, you know, when you're going home to visit your mother, or you're going out to, you want to go out to dinner? I mean, these are things that are really serious questions, And if your partner, your significant other, I mean, these are things. Can a relationship survive? Yes, but it certainly helps when if you're in a relationship and your partner eats like you do, because again, eating is a very, I mean, other than being something that we do in terms of nourishing us, it's something, again, the whole expression, you break bread together, that's a bonding moment. That's a moment where you share, there's nothing like, eating with someone and good conversation and et cetera, et cetera. So, so these are some serious questions. And um, over the years, again, I wanted to talk about this because each person here has to sort of weigh, put all those things on the table and say, you know, is it worth it? I mean, it may not be worth it, and that's okay. Um, if I just ask the question flat out, is the raw food diet for each and every one of us in here? Absolutely yes. And I could say that unequivocally because I've just done just enough research, and I've seen, I've experienced, and I've seen enough just to say that, all living creatures, whether we're, two, whether we are a human being or a four-legged animal, um, the, 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 the potential and the power of eating food that has not been heated is beyond is the best thing. One thing I'll mention is the study. Anybody familiar with the Dr. Pottinger? Well, Dr. Pottinger, he did a study on cats using a raw food diet. Now, cats are carnivorous animals. Um, Unlike human beings, as fruitarians, excuse me, cats. He did a study, and he had one group of cats that was he put on a raw food diet, which was their raw meat, and then you had another group where they were on the cooked food. So really, the long of the short of it is that by the fifth generation of the cats that were on cooked food, they stopped reproducing. Not only did they stop reproducing, they create they had all the issues that human beings have. They had all the sicknesses, high blood pressure, diabetes, cancer, difficulty giving birth to the litter, um, problems with seeing, crowding of teeth, irritability. I mean, these are all things that that has plagued humankind, and to know and to see that you can pretty much amount it to the fact that we've been just abusing our food, and it's really abuse. When you have to, especially now with microwaving, or I call it nuking. You nuke your food, or you deep fry it, or or just boiling it to death. Again, life begets life. If you want life, you got to eat life. And you are what you eat. So that study was really groundbreaking. Of course, the cats on the raw food diet thrived. Had no issues, no emotional issues, no physical issues. Um, so I encourage you to look further into that study. Um, that study, yeah, was on cats, but it really shows the measure of that being another living entity, and how, again, what the potential could be. Again, should we be wearing glasses? Should we be, uh, just having all the issues that we have? Again, one of the things, I have people come in here and get juice all the time, and a lot of times if they're doing more than 3 days, they'll they come in, they see the food, and they've been doing juices for a couple days. So I said, well, that's see the body wants to eat. It wants it wants to live, and to live is to eat. However, when we don't eat for a few days, everything gets better because your body is now going into sort of like a survival mode where your seeing gets better, your hearing gets better, your smelling certainly gets better. You open that door and you can smell everything down the block. So our body gets better. And just by periodically taking, and that just comes from periodically taking a break. We really inundate ourselves with food, and we don't know our potential until, again, we have to take somewhat of a break, turn that digestive energy into, using it to heal and regenerate ourselves. Okay, because we don't know our potential. We don't know. Obviously, if we were out in the wild and we had to run from an animal, maybe we would make it. Just the adrenaline would. But again, by periodically doing it as a system, a way of life, a way of living, we really can, put our best foot forward in terms of our health and our vitality. That's really what it's about. It's vitality. So we're really working against ourselves. Um, so I hope that provided some food for thought. Um, I'm going to move into the second part of my lecture. Um, yeah, I ask you to, if you have any questions, we'll take all questions at the end. Now, the second part of my lecture, we're really going to shift gears here and really talk about something that I personally, it's been a big part of my life in in an interesting kind of way. And I really wanted to present this here and share this with you because I really think it's important. Check the time. Okay, great. Um, well, before I became, a raw food chef and a raw food entrepreneur, um, I was a day trader. Um, when I was in college, it was a few friends of mine. We were kind of started getting into the stock market, and I really got into it and really read a lot of books and had my online account and I've made and lost some small fortunes. I'll just say that. Um, and of course, since then, so I would say for about 3 years, that was what I was doing. Like I didn't have anybody. I didn't have a job, so to speak. I woke up and I got on my computer. I made decisions. Sometimes it worked out good, sometimes not. And I did that for 3 years, and I learned a lot. Obviously, I learned a lot about money. I learned a lot about the market. Um, and I mention that because, everything that's going on now, we're all going to be affected, regardless of our lifestyle. Um, we all, we all need money to live. And the thing is now, I don't know if you've been following the news. It's big now, a whole fiscal cliff, um, and the thing is that these things are all symptoms of an underlying problem of this whole economy. And like right now, basically, uh, we're on a we're this economy, at least from my view and my opinion, and how I'm looking at it, is on a collision course. And when that explosion happens, nobody knows. But does it have a good chance of happening? Yes, it does. And the thing is that if we looked at our economy, we looked at basically how does this economy work? It works through the creation of debt. Period. And the thing is that, you know, this whole fiscal cliff is really, it's really just talk, because the thing is that if we don't stop, you know, buying houses via mortgage or buying car using credit essentially, you know, it's like the whole game stops. If we don't buy a house, we don't go shopping to put furniture and to put things and to, you know, and so you know, the creation or the basically allowing them to generate a real estate bubble, that's good for the economy. You know, even if people can't pay their mortgage, you know, when people buy cars and use credit cards, it's just critical that we have to keep creating debt in order for it to now you can ask the question, well, we could just keep, you know, we could just keep raising the debt ceiling, we can just keep creating debt. The problem is that we live in a finite world, and that just goes against the law of nature. I mean, we just can't keep creating something out of nothing, and there be no um, there has to be something that accounts for that. We just can't keep creating money, and that's essentially what they're doing. Is they're printing money. So, you know, all of us, if you're working, you know, you're saving money. You're saving currency. You're not really saving money, because the thing is that, you know, currency and money are two different things. Currency is, yes, what we essentially use to live, and it forms a means of exchange for goods and services. But the thing is that in the bigger picture of things, you know, with the Federal Reserve creating billions of dollars per month in order to keep the show going, you know, to keep unemployment down, you know, to keep the economy growing. The thing is that, again, when we look at nature, you know, nature goes through cycles, and you know, we have like summer. You know, we can't have summer all the time. You know, we have to have a fall and a winter, where nature kind of goes to sleep and then it comes back, and then we have this kind of ebb and flow. Where what our government is doing is trying to just keep basically like the equivalent of a summertime, like where it's just like constant, you know, they're constantly throwing money that they're printing. So by you saving money via your retirement, your 401k, et cetera, is a huge risk. You know, anytime you have a commodity or something that you're saving, and if you have, you know, if you create more and more and more of it, it becomes less and less valuable. You know, if I had just like you know, air is a commodity. You know, it's in abundance, so that's why it's free. You know, but water is maybe not as abundant, but we pay for it. We, you know, so that just shows you, you know, just, you know, by saving money, you're really defeating yourself, and you're really putting yourself up for just, it's a huge risk, you know. So one of the things, you know, while our money is good, is transferring it to something that's real. Um, Now, will life, you know, when the bubble pops, will life continue? I believe so. I think there's going to be some significant changes that happens to our everyday life as we know it. What those might be, I have no idea. But thinking ahead, one of the things obviously is, and what brings it back to raw food, is that now I'm not a farmer, um, and I know, you know, me becoming a farmer is, I don't want to say unrealistic, but it's not really practical for me at this point, at least in my life. Now that may change. Again, you know, growing your own food is great, but I know how much energy, how much time it takes. You know, we live in a seasonal environment, So we have to consider all those things. But one thing I can do is to begin to store. I could begin to store food. I could take my dollars and transfer it to something real, something tangible, something that's going to allow me to live, just in case. I'm not saying I'm not a doomsday kind of person. I'm just a realist, and and I follow nature. And when I'm looking at the economy, I just know that at some point the bubble has to bust. The game, the music will stop. And if, being prepared is going to either be your saving grace or it's going to be your worst nightmare. Um, so some of the things that becomes essential in terms of storage, and what I'm personally looking to do myself, for myself and my family, is obviously water. You know, how much water? Well, I think that I've heard of a case where somebody has a year supply of food, just in case. I think I mean, a year is a long time. I think at least 3 months is a good start. And obviously, if you're storing food, enough for 3 months, 6 months, a year, you want to really develop a system where you're rotating that food. You want to, because again, even if you're storing nuts, seeds, and things, moths and things can develop. So you want to sort of, build up your storage, build up your supply. Again, you can look at that as being like real money. This is real tangible resource, commodity. Something that you can use. Just in case. So water is the first thing. Anyone familiar with my philosophy in cuisine is I use a lot of coconut water. So storing fresh coconut water is not possible. We have the pasteurized coconut water, which does have some storage. It doesn't need to be refrigerated or frozen. So, water along with pasteurized coconut water. I mean, I use coconut water a lot in my recipes and juices. So, having your water and your coconut water is the beginning, and then nuts and seeds. We got, I mean, just about all of your nuts and seeds you can store. You got all of your cashews, almonds, hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds. These are things that have some storage value. And if you have nuts, one thing you can do to prevent them from turning rancid is to refrigerate them. If you have refrigerator space, if you have a lot of nuts, you can refrigerate them until, again, when was the million people in this area lost electricity sometime this year? It was like, so that was like a, that's something that could happen. I mean, what if it was 3 months, 6 months, no electricity? I mean, we're so dependent. We are creatures of dependency. We depend on, nothing is produced here. There's no food grown here, other than, you have your local farmers at your farmers market. Electricity and all that stuff is from this, and we got water coming from wherever. So gasoline, we all know how dicey that could be in terms of transporting goods. So we really, I mean, you got to really look at your situation. And again, if you have savings, I'm sure we all have savings in some form. And if you're saving paper dollars, then you're really setting yourself up, because those dollars are really not worth. They're not going to be worth the paper they're printed on. It takes the government like 6 cents to produce one paper dollar. That's what it's really worth. I mean, in the long run. I mean, you really want to look at like what's real and what's not. It's a big illusion, and I mean, this is something that um, around the world. This is not going to be like a U.S. phenomenon. I just honestly believe that. When will it happen? I think it will happen in this decade. Um, but so now is really the time to start to prepare. Um, so we have our nuts and seeds. Now, nuts and seeds are acid form of foods. So what do we use to balance those things? Again, storing fresh greens. I mean, you can preserve them, can them, and things. But I like seaweed. Seaweed you buy dry, and it can store. And again, you want to hopefully be using your seaweed and eating seaweed daily, almost on a daily basis. So if you have a good amount of stored, then you want to be, of course, rotating your stock. So by having your seaweed, your nuts and seeds, your water, of course, and then last but not least is probably your berries, or your dry fruit. Um, we have our superfood berries, goji berries, Incan berries, um, trail mixes that have different berries. I mean, even if you have raisins and dates, I mean, those are a little on the sweet side, but you get the idea. We really need to create a store of value. We really need to really do that because, again, being so over reliant on, we go home, we flip the switch for the electricity, we turn on the faucet, just expect the water to just flow really nice and clean. We can take a shower, whatever. We turn on the thing and our gas comes. I mean, this all could end. I don't know one person, at least living in this area, that that is truly self-sufficient. Is truly able to generate their own power. They have their own generator. They have their own running water on the property where they can, have water to meet their daily needs. Growing their own food. My thing is that okay, I'm not gonna go out and do. It's just not realistic for me to go on a farm and grow my own food. And I'm sure it's not realistic for any of you in here. But I think really the balance and the equalizer is to basically try to create, use your paper dollars while it's still worth something to take some of your savings and put it into something real, real food, especially as a raw food person, and even if you want to store some canned good stuff, less than ideal, but it can certainly, make the difference in the end. Um, I'll, uh, I'll finish with a quote. Basically, the gist of the quote is that if you prepare for bad times, then you only know good times. So I'll leave you with that. And it's been about an hour, so I want to thank you again for coming. Um, we have food for sale, and I mentioned my book today. It usually goes for $14. If you want to pick it up today, we'll have it on sale for $10. And if I have time, I'll sign it. So, well, thank you. And I'll take questions now. Yes. Well, beans, yes, you can eat beans raw. The thing about beans is that you really want to sprout them. Um, the bean that I use is chickpea, and really the easier your bean can sprout, usually the better it is for you. And the thing is with beans of course we know are high in protein, but again, being high in protein is not necessarily a good thing. All food has protein. Fruits and vegetables all have protein. Um, beans, the thing is that there's a starch component and there's a protein component, which allows for actually an improper food combination, which is why beans can create gas. So if we sprout them, then that's really the best way to eat beans. If it's not like quinoa, quinoa is another good example. Um, uh, Chickpeas, but most of the other beans are usually more of a hybrid, and they're not easily able to sprout, and they're just really more sugar than anything else. And you said what was the best place you can get? Yeah, well, the best probably the like on a retail level. I know Trader Joe's has pretty good prices on like nuts and seeds and things like that. If you want to get more bulk size, I would either go to your local co-op, and they usually have like small markups they can do if you want to get like a 5 pound, 10 pound size. Most of your nuts can come. They usually come either 5, 10, or 25 pound size. So you're looking at probably. I mean, you'll definitely save a few dollars a pound by going, especially 25. You can, and then you can. Oh, again, we always got the internet, um, so you can look on there as well. Well, I've never been to Costco, but that probably sounds like a good idea. Okay. Okay. Take. Well, that's a good question. We probably have maybe between 30 and 50, customers that come through. On, higher on the weekends, of course, maybe 75 to 100. You're welcome. Uh,
How much money do you think someone should invest in preparedness? You're talking about making savings, so I'm wondering, like, what kind of investment are you talking about making in
well, one of the
savings?
things I didn't talk about was real money, and when I say real money, I mean gold and silver. Um, that's really, when you talk about diversification and allocation, uh, I don't know how much it would cost like someone to store. I would say at least 3 months of food storage. But if you want to do 6 months a year, that's even better. Now, how much that would cost, just little, that would probably vary a lot.
So
But
much fasting,
well, that's another argument for fasting as well. Yeah, when you really have to go into a fast and it's not voluntary, at least you're prepared if you've been doing it voluntarily. Um, but gold and silver, I would say, like, you know, of course, you don't want to take. I personally wouldn't take all. Like, if I had, let's say, for example, if I had $50,000 savings, I wouldn't take $50,000 and put it all on food. Um, no, I wouldn't do that. But I would take probably at least half of that and put it into like precious metals, because again, precious metals have always been money since the beginning of time, and they've and again, that's what the central banks are buying. They know that they can print money like at just very easily, and they've been basically hedging their dollars with precious metals. So I would say at least 50% of whatever your monetary saving. And again, we got to think about also insurance and um, all the things that require you know some sort of money or income or currency, because there is going to be a currency crisis in our lifetime. I definitely believe that. I'm willing to at that. So I would say at least 50%, and then whatever you have allocated, you have your food storage, and at least you'll be protected. Now, if you want to even get fancy, get a generator, for your, especially if if you have electric, if your electric is supplying your heat and things of that nature. I mean, these are all like really important things we all need to be looking at.
is if you're following a raw diet,
Yeah.
do you need to supplement? Like I read some things like if you stop eating meat, then you need to supplement with vitamin B12. I don't know if that's true or not. And then my other question is about the macronutrients. So how do you know how much
You said the macro or the micro?
macronutrients? So
Okay.
how do you know how much carbohydrates versus fat versus protein? How do you know you're meeting your daily intake on a raw food diet?
Well, the first thing I think about when you ask these questions, I mean, these are great questions, and I think that a lot has been um, um, basically we've been really programmed to think that we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that. Again, I mean, if you really, I mean, that's why I don't really like supplements, because it's like you can make an argument for every supplement. You'll be taking a cocktail of supplements, and it's like, is this food? I mean, is, is this really like healthy? So the thing is, like with the B12, um, really from a vegetarian standpoint, there's ample B12 in our seaweed, algae, things of that nature that come more from the ocean, and just minerals in general because of the salt content. Usually where we have salt, we have minerals. So salt is not our enemy. We need to eat salty food. Salty food is very important. We just, again, it's about balance, and that's the second part of your question is like, okay, how do I know, you know, what from what? Now, I mentioned again, the thing is that we really need to sort of shift our thinking in the fact that we really are, number one, I believe we just eat too much, number one. Number two, because we eat too much, it's not about what we need per se. It's like how less, or how the question is not like, okay, how much of this and how much of that. Is how less of this and how less of that, because the thing is that our bodies work better when we eat less, period. And so we really got to shift the whole thinking. I mean, we really get more than enough. I mean, again, I talk about our economy, and everything is you got to look at the motivation for a lot of the information that's being promoted. The motivation is to get you eating, get you consuming. Not just consuming. In terms of purchasing. Um, Cars and clothes and things like that. Is to get you eating and get you taking supplements on top of that, vitamins on top of that. This to make sure you're getting everything you need. Now, 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 in terms of the balance. Now, there's different schools of thought in terms of the raw food diet. I mean, there's some people that that promote a what they call 80-10-10, and 80% is carbohydrate, 10% protein, 10% fat. Uh, I don't like to, me personally, I don't like to sort of pigeonhole. And then there's some people that they may say 33, 33, 33, and you have probably some people that's somewhere in between. I think that again, like my thing is one meal a day, or two small meals a day, and you have those meals between 12 and 8 during the cycle where the sun is at its greatest point, and if you have a good balance of, and then outside of that, you're having foods that, like, I look at foods as being either more detox or building. You can't detox and build simultaneously. So just as important it is to eat building block foods, just as important it is to detox. Like detox foods, for example, are water, coconut water, um, all your high moisture fruits like melons, citrus, These are all detoxifying food. These are not building block foods. You know, when you eat these foods, if you just ate those foods, it would be like your body's on a fast. It would be like cleansing. Okay, so you can't eat cleansing food all the time. But you can't eat building block food. Building block food, nuts, avocado, olives, green leafy vegetables. Those are building block foods, and you can't eat those all the time. Um, One way to really kind of measure, and this may be, this is what I do, is to measure, your elimination. If you're eating too many building block foods, you're eating a lot of greens and nuts, you're going to be constipated. Okay, now if you're eating a lot of eliminated foods, it's probably going to produce more of a diarrhea. You want a balance. You want something that's not flowing too slow or too fast. Okay, you have a nice and we all know that. That's we all know when it's just right. So when it's just right, you remember what you did and you follow that. All right. Yeah. Wow, great question. That's something I really should have talked about. Great question. A lot of folks. The problem with 80-20, 80% raw, 20% cooked. I mean, it's better than not following anything. The only issue I would say with that is that you want to make sure that the 20% don't become 25, 30, 35. And this is what happens because cooked food being so addictive. And again, if we have something like, say, emotionally charged that happens in our lives, that 20% can go right out the window, because food becomes an emotional connection to us, to our history, to us emotionally. Those are just some of the things to think about. I think doing 80-20, I think a good way to really follow something like that is to say, okay, because I know a lot of people that eat high raw diet and they do well. I say like maybe eating one cooked meal a week, you know, yeah, just like one day you just say, no, no. I think if you're eating cooked food every day, that's not what per day. Yeah, I think that's because again you really want to only be eating one meal a day. So your only meal, if you're eating just one meal a day, again I would say if you want to find a balance, I would say maybe once or twice a week you treat yourself and then you want to eat conscious cooked food. You don't want to just eat going down and getting pizza or French fries or burgers. That's not that would be too. Okay. Well, the other side of that too. Now, if you're eating cooked food, because really the whole essence of food is really even not even what you're eating, is how much you're eating. That trumps what you're eating, how much you eat. If you ate basically what would basically be the size of your stomach uh, per day, and that's about maybe 12 to 16 ounces of food. It's not a lot of food. It really wouldn't matter what you ate. You would be healthy, even if you're eating like dairy, meat, uh, processed foods. But the thing is that the thing with processed foods is that again, what I talked about earlier, it's unlikely that you'll be able to eat that amount of food and you're eating junk because it's very low on the nutritional scale. If you're eating foods that are high on the nutritional scale, like even I mean the food I prepare, I mean people say, wow, they get a large and that's 2 meals because it's so nutritionally dense. So by eating a high raw food diet, that will automatically allow you to eat less food because it's so dense nutritionally. With a lot of, and if you're eating a lot of dark green leafy vegetables, that's some of the densest food nutritionally that we can eat. Yeah. again, this fasting is second to none. I mean, inflammation is, again, the body is inflamed. The body is like, again, it's almost like, um, it's stress. And you're creating more stress by eating. The food. That's the way someone's body is programmed to deal with stress, is to create inflammation, to create swelling. And again, to naturally bring that down, yeah, you can take some different medication, you could take some natural herbs and things like that, but nothing trumps fasting. And especially, that would naturally bring any issue, but especially inflammation.
How
Uh,
would you fast?
Again, well, fasting is really an art form. There's no direct answer to. Again, it deals. It depends on the person, where they're at. I would say, like, if you're really dealing with something chronic, a week is a good start. A week is at least 5 days to 5 to 7 days, really initially, and then during that 5 7 day period when you're fasting, you really want to be evaluating, what you're eating, what you're going to eliminate, what you're going to replace it with. I mean, that's the time to really take introspection on what you're doing and the changes that you're going to make. So therefore, because you can't, again, just like I mentioned about detox foods and building foods, can't always detox. You gotta eat some building block foods. We want to eat the best building block foods, and when we're eating. So by during that time, you'll have, all that time, you'll just be fasting, so you'll have a lot of time, because you're not eating, to really think about those things, and really just sort of try to sow the just try to rewire yourself spiritually to say, okay, when I start eating, I'm going to eat this. And yeah.
By the way, thank you for the wonderful presentation.
Yes.
Very
Oh,
informative.
thank you.
My question is, piggybacking on her question, but my sister, she's borderline obese, and I've been trying to help her, help her with her diet. But she has diabetes, and she works as a teacher in DC, so she says that she's kind of hesitant to go with it because she doesn't know if she's gonna have enough energy throughout the day to do this.
Well, I mean, somebody who's borderline obese doesn't have energy. I mean, so you can only go up, right? I mean, see, okay, diabetes, again, the processed foods. You gotta, that's one of the things that creates diabetes, is the too much processed foods. Um, she has to do her shit. One thing I say is that, you go to the supermarket, you want to do 80% of your shopping in one aisle. The produce aisle. Forget all that other stuff that's in boxes and jars and I mean, that's the problem. We need to be processing fresh foods. That's the processed foods we need to eat. And something like diabetes, hypertension, I mean, they all run together, because they all are created really essentially from the same root, and that's from eating just too much processed foods. It's tough, with family. They kind of have to want to do it. There's nothing that you can really do. I mean, if she has the will to come to you and to be informed, yeah, you have the information, you point in a certain way, but she's got to want it for herself. She's got to believe it. It sounds like there's some doubt there as well, like, would this really work? But I think that, and of course, when you talk about diabetes, exercise is also right there too. So that's just as important as the food, but not as important, but right there. That's the food is going to be 60 70%, and the rest is going to be exercise. So she's got to really want to commit herself to an exercise regimen and also to basically elimination of certain foods and the inclusion of fresh food. I don't even like to say raw. I like to say fresh. Like just eating more fresh foods. People can, I think more relate to that. Yes. Well, I think that you can juice every day. And again, I would, if you can, every morning. You have your fresh juice. That'd be your breakfast. That's like, you're not, you don't want to put nothing physical. Again, like when you fast, when you look at the cycles, you have your 24-hour cycle. You have a week-long cycle. When you're fasting multiple days, it's like you're extending the fasting cycle because within a 24-hour cycle, you have a fasting cycle, which is when naturally when we're sleeping. So we're on the breath. So we know instinctively to come off of a fast, whether it's 3 day, 5 day, 7 day. You say, okay, most people come and they say, okay, how should I break my fast? But we don't ask that on a 24-hour cycle. When we wake up from our sleep, how should I break my fast? With coffee and bagels and donuts. Right. This sounds crazy, but that's what people do. We should be breaking our fast with water, fresh juices, and that be our breakfast. Because we are break. That's a breakfast, break fast. So it's really critical to practice, and by really doing that, we're really practicing fasting each and every day. Each and every day becomes an opportunity to fast. And juicing is a great way to. Because the nice thing about juicing is that, I mean, it's variety. Water can kind of get just like salads. Just you do it raw gourmet. It makes it exciting. And juicing makes things, again, it brings a variety. You get excuse me, different colors and different taste, and you want to use your greens, use your different fruits, be creative. Um, so yeah, every day.
How long would you save nuts for, nuts and seeds, if you put them in the refrigerator?
Well, in the refrigerator, it's indefinite. If they're not refrigerated, I would say 3 months. Before you want to use them, you don't want them to sit longer than 3 months.
I'm sorry, say that again, if you're going to use them, you said?
I said if you're not, like, let's say if you're storing them, you want to use them, within 3 months. If you let them sit longer than 3 months, then you want to either use them, or if you could store them in the refrigerator, then that will
Rotate
extend the
them, right?
and rotate them. Right, exactly.
Does that include also like unshelled nuts, like
Well, if you got nuts that have been unshelled, you probably have a little longer cycle. They probably store a little longer.
If they're unshelled, they'll store?
Right,
Okay.
right. Because when they've been shelled, they've been processed. So they're exposed to, unless they're like, a lot of times you get nuts and they're vacuum packed. So that's almost like it being still in the shell.
What about dates and raisins?
Same thing. Because I actually, mostly if you really want to get your dates fresh, anyway, like I try to use fresh dates. So the dates that I get, they're in the refrigerator, because again they're fresh, and they have a better consistency, better flavor, etc. Where the dry dates are really, they're really not that great.
where do you get your fresh dates?
Well, I order them. I'm so yeah.
I was going to ask about wild rice. Now, could you put wild rice in the water for 24 hours and eat it without cooking it? Or do you have to cook it?
Well, Wild rice will, at least the way I prepare the wild rice, it needs some heat. Now, one of the ways that I do that is, now this is a trade secret. I'm a little, is because yeah, if you just soak the wild rice, it's not all going to split. Some of it will split. It's a straw, so it's really a seed, the wild rice. So when you soak it, if you just soaked it room temperature, you may have half of it split, and therefore it becomes soft and chewy. But the other half will be hard. And so the way to get around that is to, if you take all the trays out of your dehydrator, you put it in your dehydrator, you set it to like maybe 100 degrees, 110 degrees, 120, and that's just enough heat. Now you got to make sure you have enough water, at least 4 cups of water to 1 cup of rice, and the water, and you want to keep a lid on it because the water will evaporate. So you keep a lid on it, keep the water in there, and that will. It took me 2 years to figure that out. So I want y'all to admit, that's a deep secret. Yeah.
For the raw
Okay.
food guide, is it possible to like include a menu that's similar to like your cultural background or
Oh, that's the great thing about raw food. I mean, and that's a great thing even for me personally as a chef, is that I like to learn all the different traditional cuisines. Whether it's Caribbean, Italian, Asian, African. I mean, there's so much out there that you can do in terms of like, well, number one being familiar with the different spices, because everyone has their own unique spices, and then because you bring that in, and then the other thing is depending on what the kind of dish it is, creating that texture, and really, I mean, it's just so wide open, and like I said, it's so much like for me to learn personally, as a chef that I'm, so yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, that's exciting. That's what's so exciting, about raw, is that, you know, well, like what? Well, palm oil is a healing oil, and I use palm oil. We make an okra dish. We use palm oil. I've used palm oil in my wild rice. So those are two examples right there. With palm oil, you don't have to cook the palm oil. Now, the palm oil does have to be at least room temperature. If it's cold, like now, if you store it in the fridge, it's gonna cake up. It's not gonna taste good. But palm oil is warm. It really tastes delicious, and it's like I said, it's one of those tropical oils like coconut oil that is very, very beneficial for us, and we should truly be in our diet. Palm oil for sure. No, palm oil is again just like coconut oil. I mean, when they replace, I mean, they again when the agribusiness, it was a big thing when they replaced coconut oil, because back maybe 50 years ago, that's what everyone was using, was tropical oils, coconut oil and palm oil for their cooking needs. And soy was cheaper to produce. That's where soy really exploded into the health scene, is that it was the oil that they were getting, and the curd was a byproduct, and it was passed as a health food. And so the soy oil has replaced coconut oil, or that's what it did, back then. And when you eat lots of coconut oil and palm oil, those things are really good for our endocrine system and our whole emotional, our whole the balance with our glands, and it really helps to regulate weight, and among other issues, tons of other issues that we have because we don't eat tropical oils. Yeah, thank you. Good question. Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of our business. I mean, in addition to the raw food, I mean, again, that's how this book came about. Again, people, I had a mailing list. People, basically, they wanted the program crystallized, and so I crystallized it, and I've added a lot of like philosophy and information, experience, in addition to the actual nuts and bolts of doing a fast. And so that's something that we do is a big part. I mean, we have people come every day picking up juice fast. So if anyone is interested in doing a juice fast, most people do 3 days, but 5 days, 7 days is good, especially this time of the year. Really give your system a rest. Really a nice way to kickstart. And yeah, just see me, after the talk, or you can email me if you're interested. We'll get you on the schedule. A lot of you may have seen I offer this on a lot of discount websites, and that's great. I'm sure some of you may have purchased one of those, but by coming through me directly, you get priority scheduling. And I can offer a similar price that's online. So yeah. So basically, and then how it works is that if you sign up, you would come and you would get, we usually give out about 3 days worth of juice at a time. So if you do longer than a week, then we'll, ask you to come back a second time or a third time if you're doing longer. So again, with the and just to say a little bit about like the fast in particular, by using coconut water is number one a whole food. It's not just water. It's complete. Like when you put if you're juicing celery or cucumber or pineapple, you have a processed food. Yes, is you're going to benefit. Yes, you're going to benefit. But with coconut water, is one thing that's nice is that it is a whole food as a water. And the thing is that when you drink it, you really get fulfilled on so many different levels. And then, what we do is we use the coconut water as a base for our other juices as well. Our green juice and even our fruit juices, we use the coconut water as a complement. It really complements, like if you were drinking fresh squeezed orange juice, fresh squeezed orange juice just by itself can be pretty intense. It's very, even though it's like 99% water you're drinking, it can be pretty intense. But by adding coconut water to it, it really lightens it, and it doesn't dilute. If you put spring water in there, you could taste the water. It's like, okay, this is. But when you add in coconut water, it lightens it without diluting the integrity of the juice. So that's what the coconut water is great. I encourage you to use coconut water, in your to stretch your juice. Like if your juice is heavy, it's like a great way to stretch your juice, to extend your juice without, you're right, making, compromising. Yes. Well, again, you got to think about what I was saying about building versus detoxing. Your green foods are builders for the most part. I mean, green foods. Well, green foods are actually both. They're really in between, like where you have your fruits, a straight cleanser, your nuts and seeds are straight builders. Your greens are like sort of in the middle. So with that said, your green powders, will you benefit? Yeah, but I think that by it depends. Now, if you're juicing your greens and you're getting your greens, it's probably unnecessary. If you wanted to include like algae, like if it had some algae in there, like spirulina, or they have some fancy superfood algae out there on the market now. If you wanted to get some algae in your system, okay, that's great. One of the things that I'm not like a big proponent of is grass. Um, I'm not a, um, we're not grass eaters. A lot of those things will contain grass fillers, um, and I'm not a big fan of grass. I just, grass is for goats and cows and four-legged animals. We're fruitarian. Fruitarian doesn't mean that we don't eat green foods. I believe we should eat green leafy foods, not grass, and that includes wheatgrass too. Um, Wheatgrass, can we benefit? Yes, but is it ideal? Is it suitable for a human being? I would beg to differ. I would definitely argue against wheatgrass. Now, I mean, wheatgrass is big in a lot of different circles, but I just don't think it's. Again, there's many other foods that are far superior. I feel that we can drink in like algae, for example. You can take like different algae. They have the E3 Live, which is great. Uh, Noni juice. Noni juice is also very, very powerful tonic. That's a fruit. Noni is a fruit. So again, we're fruitarian, and noni has no sugar. So there are things that other than wheatgrass. I think it's just a lot of hype more than anything else. So when you look at your green powder, just look for the say grass. But if you're drinking green juice, you're getting what you need anyway. Yeah. Yes. Phytoestrogen. Like, give me an example of a phyto. Well, like in a supplement form. Yeah, again, that's more of a distraction than anything else of the real issue, and it's like you eat real food and you'll get what you need. Again, I think with regular fasting or periodic fasting, along with a balanced diet, I mean, we really need to look at like again, like what the gentleman earlier asked about, like protein, fat, and sugar. Those are the things that we need to be more. When those are balanced, and we have a good balance of like, I even go deeper with like bitter, sour, those kinds of things. When you have a balance between all those different like taste sensations, you have a balance of like the carbohydrate versus the fat and protein. Then you have a balance of all the phytonutrients and different hormone balance things like estrogen. Um, you're def- well, mushrooms. I'm 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 not totally against mushroom, but I'm not totally a big fan of mushroom either. I think that again, it's not necessary. It's not a true sun food. Again, we really want to eat sun foods that's like more activated by the sun, that have sun energy. That's why fruits, green leafy vegetables, flowers, nuts, seeds, these things have sun energy versus like mushrooms are more of a fungus. I mean, can we benefit from some mushrooms? Yes. We can prepare some in teas and things like that, but will they make the difference? Yeah,
How could you fast or eat more without losing weight? I wonder
Well, the thing is, with losing weight is just necessary. I mean, you want to be at your natural weight. You want to be at your healthy weight, however that may look. I mean, if it's healthy, you will look good. Um, the thing is that if you're eating a good diet, and when I mean good diet, a high raw food diet, and you're regularly fasting, you will be at your natural, like, God weight, where you naturally supposed to be. What happens, what's interesting, like, enough, like, I mean, it's happened with me and a lot of folks that I know who would take on raw food diet, like 100%. What tends to happen is that it will be like you were on a fast, and you will lose and you lose. So, if you're not trying to lose weight, don't be alarmed. uh, it would be like almost like a 6 to 9 month period where you will lose, and then you'll start to gain. It's like your body is like eliminating and remaking itself on new material. Okay, you can't build in a dirty house. I mean, if we wanted to, create a new building, you have to gut it out, and that's the whole idea. So when you go raw, you can look for that to happen, no matter where your weight is. But you can look, if you stay with it and you remain with it, then your weight will come back, and you'll be at your, and whatever that weight is, that's like your weight. Fruits as well. But I think just with a balanced diet, a balanced approach, I wouldn't be so concerned with like doing a fast, not at that age. And especially with type 1, you don't, I personally wouldn't suggest that. I mean, even with the coconut water, which typically is safe for a diabetic to fast on coconut water, but with I wouldn't take that risk personally. I would say, just lots of fruits and juices, but food as well. And I think that over time it could, I think you just have to be more gradual and more patient with a case like that. Yes, sir. Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah. I've been getting the coconut water, the green coconuts, yeah, for years now. I'm not a big fan of the Thai coconuts, um, but I mean, no, I mean, if that's convenient, and that's, for most people, that's what they're able to. I mean, yeah, I'm the source. Yeah, so you're here. Yeah, oh yeah, I could sell it by the case, and or if you want to get more, like a couple cases. Probably a week to 2 weeks. Yeah, but definitely you want to, even if you don't use it, I would process it, get the water out. Like within a week, like if you you don't want to lose any, because after that first week you'll start to lose some. Because like even though it's like a hard encasing, the water kind of can seep through. Will start to seep through this sometimes. Like even when, like, you can put it down and one can be more soft than the other one, and it can cause a little crack, and a little air gets in there, and then the water will sour. But within a week, I would, if you're not using it, I would process it. Like I would take all the water out, bottle it. Then you can freeze it. The meat you would have to freeze as well if you're not going to use right away. So that's what we do. We try to, if I mean, we don't. I don't get as many as I can handle within a week. So like even though they sit out in basically room temperature, like after a week they start to sour, and they start to yeah. So
Question.
yeah.
Can, so with the coconut water, can you buy the bottled coconut water as well? Is that okay?
What kind of what?
One?
Yeah, I mean, again, I talked about like with your food storage, like that's one of the like that's what you would have to do. If you're storing coconut water, because that can store at room temperature, and it can store for a couple months. I mean, again, it's just. I mean, beyond that, it's like a preference.
Oh, if you're fasting, can you,
Oh, if you're fasting.
I'm sorry.
I did it pasteurized, so it's not raw. I mean,
Right, right, right. It's been
And
pasteurized.
should you drink it every day, coconut water?
Yeah, I would say yeah. You could drink, side by side with your usual water intake.
The bottled is okay every day? Can you drink the bottled water every day if you,
What what kind of water?
the coconut?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, if you can't get the coconut, if you can't physically buy a coconut and take the water out every day, you can use the bottle, then it's fine, right?
Yes, yeah, well, yeah. You do the best you can.
Question, what is the best, fasting or detox, a smoothie or juice?
Well, you're gonna again, it depends on where you at, but you're gonna detox. Okay, the less you put in, the more you detox. So like, okay, if the probably the greatest, well, the one extreme is just to be on the breath, and you're gonna
To be
detox
what?
on the breath, like no, like they call it a dry fast, like no water. That's like your body, right? And that's too extreme for I say all of us. And then you have plain water. If you drink just plain water, you're gonna detox. Like I mean, it's gonna be a high level detox because you're not putting it. You're gonna be weak, and your body's gonna be detoxing. Like it's gonna be accelerated. And then probably the next level is coconut water. Coconut water is a good balance. Like you detox, but not like extreme, like just water or on the breath. And then juice is the next level because again, like the more you put in, the more it's like it's an inverse relationship between what you put in and how hard your body has to work. So it has to work a little harder to process juice versus coconut water. Smoothies is next. Now, I wouldn't put any bananas in the smoothie if you're trying to detox. I would just use the whole fruit if you're gonna do more of a smoothie where you're not like where it's gonna be some fiber. So, like for example, pineapple or apples or some fiber. You're gonna detox, but not like on the level if it was just juice because your body has to do some work in terms of breaking down the fiber. So the less work your body has to do in terms of what you put in, the more detox.
So juice is a little better than.
Juice is definitely better in terms of detoxing. Yes. Any other questions? All right. So okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I have a class scheduled for tentatively scheduled for next month. Um, I believe it's the 16th and the 17th. If you want more information, send me an email. It's not on my website, but it's a 2-day intensive class. We'll go through pretty much I don't want to say everything because there's a lot, but we'll go through a lot. 2 days, I think 4 to 5 hours each day. And again, you can email me at Khepra, chefkhepra.com if you're interested. I could shoot you the link. It was on my newsletter. Also, yeah, that's the thing I'm trying to correct. I have a newsletter that I send out, basically information like this, and but it's not the link. I don't have a link to join. So if you wanted to join, you can send me your email. I'll put you on my newsletter. Khepra at chefkhepra.com. Khepra at chefkhepra.com. All right. Thank you again. Again. So thank you all for coming out and appreciate it. Thank you.